What's up, cheapskates? It's the free Friday edition of Moron Money, where this is in no way financial advice. It's just an idiot's guide to getting into investing. Where if you take this as financial advice, you're a bigger moron than me. It's simply a springboard to doing your own research. If you want more Moron Money, as well as the Blind Mike Project and all sorts of other goodies behind the paywall, you can go to patreon.com/blind Mike. If you like this edition of Moron Money, we also do Sundays and Thursdays on Patreon. So make sure you check that out. And of course, as always, there's a lot of Bitcoin news. We'll get to the stock market a little bit as well. But more of the same Bitcoin news where the rich are gobbling up Bitcoin. And I am trying to show you that that means something. Should we start with the good news or the bad news? Let's start with the bad news and work our way forward. Not really bad news because I'm not sure I totally buy it. Peter Thiel, co-founder of PayPal, evidently he's on the board of Facebook as well. Very rich man. And if you've heard us talk about PayPal, you know that PayPal is gobbling up Bitcoin each and every day, and they've offered it to merchants around the world where you can pay in Bitcoin, and then PayPal keeps it because they're smart and they're hodling it, and then they give those merchants fiat money. Very interesting. But Peter Thiel warns the Richard Nixon Foundation. I found that a strange place for this. But Peter Thiel warns the people he's speaking to at the Richard Nixon Foundation that China may be up to no good with Bitcoin, and they may be weaponizing it against the U.S. to try and take down fiat money and the U.S. dollar. And Peter Thiel, in this explanation, acknowledges he is a Bitcoin maximalist, but doesn't necessarily trust China. Now, there's also information that would indicate China has tried to. Ooh, it's medicine time. My reminder's going off. Time for your medication, Mikey. So just keep in mind, you are listening to an insane man. Genuinely. I'm on meds for it. So keep that in mind as you listen to my rantings here. But China is they have also had a recent crackdown on Bitcoin. There's a lot of mixed signals from China as to whether or not they will be using Bitcoin, whether or not they're weaponizing it against the United States. But always keep that in mind, I guess. I think the smart thing would be for the U.S. to adopt Bitcoin as their reserve currency. But that's neither here nor there. Peter Thiel himself in the past has said that he sees Bitcoin as more of a hedge against inflation, like gold, rather than, he said, the transaction cost is too high, and he doesn't see it being used for that type of thing. Now, you could also say that the fact that PayPal is now using it for transactions means maybe he's changed his mind on that. I don't know. But as always, I'm not giving you the answers. I'm giving you the details so that you can look into this yourself, see if it scares you. But I don't think it should, because there's a lot of other very good information, including State Street. So we told you a few weeks ago, the world's first bank was it BNY Mellon, I believe. America's first bank bought into Bitcoin. Now America's second bank, State Street, has bought into Bitcoin as well. They will be offering Bitcoin to their clients. It's just another example of these big institutions, banks, billionaires, hedge funds getting into Bitcoin. And I guess we could give you a couple more of those examples. We talked yesterday about Rick Caruso, another real estate billionaire, taking rent in Bitcoin. You can now pay your rent in Bitcoin. Bloomberg yesterday predicting a $400,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year. And you see that number, $400,000, thrown out a lot, that this rally could take Bitcoin as high as $400,000. And I certainly don't know if that's going to happen. Nobody does. But it is a number to consider when you think, like, well, if I throw $100 in, I only have 0.001 Bitcoin or whatever it would work out to. So that's peanuts. But if we get to $400,000, that means your money would roughly 8x. So whatever money you put in, you can increase that by 8 times. So think of it that way. Rather than thinking of the small percentage of Bitcoin you could own, think of it more as just a multiplication problem. What was the other? What was the other rich guy? Oh, the head of Fidelity Digital Assets. I cannot speak. Another example why you should never take this as financial advice. I'm a fool. Um, the head of Fidelity Digital Assets, another world leader in the finance industry, says we've reached a Bitcoin tipping point, and that the coin, the cryptocurrency, is just going to keep rallying. These are all things that should indicate to you that Bitcoin is not going away. We can add to the list the Sacramento Kings, my new favorite basketball team. Do the Maloof brothers still own the Kings? I'm not sure. Leave that in the comments. Let me know who owns the Kings. But regardless, the Sacramento Kings are now offering not just players, but their entire organization can now choose to get paid in Bitcoin, whatever percentage they like. If they would like every last dollar paid in Bitcoin, then they have that option. Now, that is extremely interesting to me for a couple of reasons. A, it will kind of indicate regular people understanding the value of Bitcoin and just getting interested in it. Also, it suggests that we may start seeing, like we talked about with, damn, I forget his name, but the NFL player for the Panthers, I think, that chose to be paid entirely in Bitcoin, or have part of his salary paid in Bitcoin, rather. And then you heard that anonymous members of the Yankees were doing that, and other players around the various sports leagues starting to get paid in Bitcoin. Now you're seeing entire organizations doling out Bitcoin. So this to me just indicates more adoption. And all week, or really, I mean, all month, we've seen whales taking their Bitcoin off of exchanges. Same with Ethereum now, by the way. Ethereum whales are taking their Ethereum off of exchanges. So that is all an indication that we're going to hit a Bitcoin liquidity price crisis at some point. So make sure you keep an eye on that. Think to yourself, is this something I want to invest in? I keep talking about it every week, and I'm going to continue talking about these little stories that suggest that Bitcoin is the future, because I know people are scared of it, or I know people don't quite understand it. But the more billionaires, also Millennium, I think, is the name of another big hedge fund that has invested in Bitcoin. So we keep seeing, what do we see? Banks, hedge funds, billionaires, sports franchises, countries, politicians getting into Bitcoin. That to me suggests that something is happening, that the elite are trying to gobble up all the Bitcoin. And us little guys only have a small chance at getting it while the getting's good. So take that into consideration. As far as other cryptocurrencies, the prices have been strange this week. A lot. XRP, as I sit here and record this now, back over $1. Why is Ripple surging so much? Well, it seems like a lot of people think that the SEC lawsuit could be going away. There's a petition to the new head of the SEC, Gary Gensler, I believe his name is. Petition has been sent to him demanding that the XRP Ripple lawsuit goes away. Now, I don't know how often the SEC kowtows to petitions, so I don't know how much that matters, but it does kind of indicate that the people want XRP. The people want to be able to buy their XRP. And it would also suggest that if and when this lawsuit does go away, that the room to grow would go far beyond $1. Now, is XRP a good investment at over $1? That I'm not sure of. I don't know the ceiling for XRP, and there's also been, believe me, I know some people. I know a good buddy of mine who got an XRP early and has always been waiting for this rocket to take off. And every time you see a sign of positivity, it runs out of jet fuel on the runway, and then it just crashes. So I don't know how much I trust XRP. I do own a little bit. And if it accomplishes its goals, first of all, its competition, XLM, shady that they have not been investigated by the SEC, considering A, it's the same thing, and B, it was started by one of the guys who founded Ripple. So that's a little odd. Or founded XRP. I'm not sure if he was in on Ripple as well. Um, but keep an eye on that SEC lawsuit. Keep an eye on XRP. Maybe if it dips back down below $1, maybe a good time to buy. But again, when something spends most of its time at 30, 40 cents and then suddenly surges to $1, like when Cardano did that, I bought in Cardano at 30 cents. Now it sits at about $1.20. So for a little bit, I was skeptical that it would come back down. Now it showed good consolidation and resistance. So maybe it doesn't seem like Cardano is going to be going back down to that territory anytime soon. And by the way, a gearhead reached out to me and asked about Cardano, asked why I'm so interested in it. I will give that to you on Sunday. I'll kind of break down Cardano in a little more detail and explain why I like it. That is my second highest holding to Bitcoin, then Cardano, and then Ethereum and XRP. And I've said before, I currently don't hold any Chainlink, Polkadot, Litecoin, but those would be the other three I would look at. I don't trust Banana Coin or Pokemon or any of this other nonsense. Sushi is not my game. Even Binance, BNB coin. I know that's very hot right now. I'm not particularly interested in it. And believe me, feel free to come up if you have your reasons why you like any of those coins or any of the other altcoins. Leave it in the comments. I'd be happy to know, and I will look into those, and maybe you'll convince me. But for now, I'm more comfortable with the leaders in the clubhouse and the things that everyone's more comfortable with. And in my mind, that's Bitcoin, Cardano, Ethereum, Chainlink, Litecoin, and XRP and Polkadot. But like I said, on Sunday, we will talk a little more about Cardano. And I think that's, I think that's about it for Bitcoin that I can think of. But, keep in mind, a lot of people throwing that $400,000 number out there. So look into that as much as you would like. In terms of the stock market, speaking of the stock market going up, Professor Jeremy Siegel says that the stock market could increase 30 to 40% by the end of the year before we have a 20% pullback due to the Fed kind of trying to work against inflation. We heard Jamie Dimon the other day say something similar where I think the time he put on it was more like 2 years, where we could have a crazy 2-year run and then perhaps a pullback at some point. That's what I've talked about before, where I think there is going to be some kind of crash if Biden keeps printing money, and if money virtually has no value, then eventually we have to see some kind of pullback in the stock market. But if things open up and get real crazy this summer, then maybe that won't come for a while. And that's what this Professor Jeremy Siegel says, that it could be a 30 to 40% increase for the stock market by the end of the year. And then we may see our pullback. So think about that. Keep that in the back of your mind. As far as marijuana, cannabis stocks, we've talked a lot about Afria. The merger between Afria and Tilray seems to have lit a fire under the ass of CGC, Canopy Growth Corp. That's another stock that a lot of people like. When I mention Afria, CGC is one that gets thrown at me a lot. They're another big one in Canada. And it seems that the merger between Afria and Tilray seems to have sparked Canopy Growth Corp to do a little bit of the same. So I've talked about Afria and Tilray's merger, meaning that both companies, or the one company, once the merger is finished, having some leverage in the United States and all over Europe. Canopy Growth Corp is looking to do the same type of thing. They just bought TSX, which was I believe a penny stock that I remember hearing a lot of people talk about. But Canopy Growth Corp has purchased them, and it looks like they have other mergers and acquisitions in mind. So they are looking to be, it could be very interesting. We could see a lot of these Canadian companies, or two of these Canadian companies, if Afria and CGC buy them all, really become competitive and have a head start on a lot of other companies. Now, this is all to say that you should keep in mind, you know, even if Canopy Growth Corp and Afria become the leaders in the clubhouse, which Afria still is at the moment, in my opinion, once the United States officially legalizes it everywhere, when recreational marijuana is legal everywhere and it is easier to open up a dispensary, or I've always had the idea, let me throw this at you folks. I'm sure this has been done before, probably somewhere, but if it wasn't such a pain in the ass to get a licensing for this, then I'd love to open a weed bar. I guess I wouldn't want to run it. I'd probably be a horrible business owner. But like essentially just a bar, you serve food and stuff like that. You show, the games on TV. Or you even, if it's marijuana, you could have a movie room or something like that. I don't know the logistics of showing that sort of thing. But why not just have a bar where you serve marijuana instead of alcohol? Could be interesting. Anyways, point being, that stuff will eventually be a lot easier to open. And that, some billionaire in the United States could just dominate CGC and Afria at some point. So keep that in mind. And, anytime there's good news in the cannabis sector, you see a huge run up. Some state legalizes it or some country opens up their restrictions. And you see a big surge in cannabis numbers. And then eventually there's this pullback where you see the doldrums. You see the lows for a long time in the cannabis sector. And that'll keep happening until it's more of a stable environment, which I believe we're getting to in the next, 3, 4, 5 years. I think we will definitely get there. So keep that in mind. Look into CGC, Canopy Growth Corp. Let me know in the comments if you like them more than Afria. I'd be interested to know that. Or if there's a cannabis stock that you like more than both of them. Leave it in the comments. Let me know because I'd be happy to look into them. And the only other stock I mentioned, electromechanica vehicles on Thursday's program. We talked about that penny stock. Another penny stock that maybe you should look at is one I've had for a while. So I got into Tellurian, ticker TELL. By the way, if you want to look up electromechanica vehicles, SOLO is their ticker code. But if you want to look into Tellurian, it is a natural gas company that I got in at about 60 cents, I want to say. And it has surged to over $2 now. I believe it's at 220 as I record this, thereabouts. The reason I was interested in them is because when I got in at 60 cents, their 52-week high at the time was over $9. And I thought, why did they drop so low? Well, they dropped around the time of the dreaded pandemic. But all news seemed to be pointing to good news for Tellurian at the time. Obviously, that came to fruition. And consensus rating right now is a hold for TELL, but analysts see the possibility of a 150% increase by the end of the year. The price target is up over $3. So looking at Tellurian, if you're looking for a penny stock to consider in the natural gas sector. I think I always talk so fast when I do this Moron Money. I don't know why that is. I think I feel like I'm Jim Cramer. I'm a big financial tycoon, entertainer, I guess. But I don't know. I apologize if I talk too fast. Hopefully, I got the information out there. Hopefully, you found it interesting. And please leave in the comments because it not just helps me if you leave any stock tips or recommendations in the comments. A, I will look into them, but B, it helps the algorithm if you leave comments, hit the like button, subscribe, tap the bell for notifications, and tell a friend. All of those will help the algorithm, so hopefully more people will see Moron Money, and we can grow the community of morons and gearheads, and we can become filthy rich together. And that's the dream, folks. All right. I think that is it. We will talk to you again on Sunday, and that's on patreon.com/Blind Mike, where you can get 2 additional episodes of Moron Money every single week. You can also check out the Blind Mike Project, both on patreon.com/Blind Mike and iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts. So check that out as well. Totally different than this, but maybe you'll like it. Maybe you won't. Let me know in the comments. And until next time, gang, let's keep making money.